acronym for inter-ministerial task team, I don't see any ministers. So I hope that that will be clarified. I've received some sort of explanation, but they will respond to it. So, right, Honorable Dex, and we'll come to...
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, I just wanted, before we start, to have clarity who we're actually meeting with here. You said you said Eskom and the task team, but I actually want to know who are we meeting with, because when we spoke about the inter-ministerial task team, I was expecting the minister and the DG to be here. And when we speak about Eskom, surely I expect the board to be present here. Is the board here? Who are we actually meeting with? I want clarity on that first, Chair, before we start.
No, we will. As far as I know, there is an Eskom board member who's present as part of the accounting authority. Yeah, so there is, they indicated that, and so they will explain themselves, but let's get from the IMTT first. DG of COCTA.
Thanks, Chairperson, and good morning to you and the honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. We have an apology, Chairperson, from the Minister of COCTA, who chairs the IMTT, Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. She's not able to make it because of the cabinet subcommittee meeting. So she asked us to advance this apology on her behalf. She is I think Scopa invited her in her capacity as the chairperson of the inter-ministerial task team. And
I want to draw your attention, DG, to an email sent by Tuwani Mateza to our secretariat on the 20th of September, which reads as follows: Dear Scopa Secretariat, Ms. Kabinde, attached is a COCTA presentation. Kindly note the request of the early departure of the minister due to COCTA line functions, including cabinet committee meetings that are clashing with the time of the Scopa meeting. I would have expected then that the minister's here. That's why we are meeting today. This ambush of her then not pitching now, I want to say first off the bat, is not acceptable. That's just the bottom line. Because we are meeting with the inter-ministerial task team. She's not the only one there. There could have been other ministers of this task team who are delegated to have come here. So I'm battling to understand then why there was this U-turn. Because, colleagues, I want to indicate further that this toing and froing began way before this meeting set, insofar as correspondence was concerned. So I'm not surprised seated here at this particular revelation. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no explanation that suffices, because it's a backtracking on your own request to leave early. You should have just said so. If you are not going to come, then we would not have met. That's the issue. Colleagues, can I take Mazamba and I'll come to you? Honorable Liz.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I think you've expressed the concerns that are shared probably by most members or all members of the committee. But the fact is that the inter-ministerial task team was given adequate notice, and the minister who chairs was given adequate notice and should have been here. But the fact is that this is a crisis. This task team has been operating since February 2017, and during that period, the debt to Eskom of municipalities, which is their primary function of this task team, has more than trebled, I think, or at least doubled, or more than doubled, and it's gone up by some 9.8 billion rand since in that period. And so it is completely unacceptable that the chair of that organization or that structure simply chooses not to pitch here. Simply chooses, I am not coming, I've got something more important to do. We have municipalities who are faced with their supplies of electricity being cut off because this task team has failed in its duties or its mandate. Instead of reducing municipal debt, it's more than trebled. It's outrageous, Mr. Chairman, and I do think that we should send that message to the Minister and tell whoever's here representing the Minister that we will expect her appearance before this committee very, very soon, and let's have a look at our program. And no matter what she has, whether she's going off to meet in some international meeting, she will come here and explain why this task team has failed to make any progress with reducing municipal debt to Eskom. Eskom is the biggest crisis facing South Africa today. The biggest crisis facing South Africa today.
Right.
And yet we treat it with such disdain.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I propose that we send whatever delegation is here away and we determine when they will appear with the Minister for the entire period, not leaving early, at our convenience. Thank you.
All right. Let's note the proposals before there are any seconders so that I can get the full expression of the committee. Mr. Whip, can I come to you last?
Oh.
Right. Honorable Somyo, Honorable Mente, Honorable Tulashe.
Well, Chair, thank you very much, Honorable Chair and the members here. As per our invite, the indication is that the ministerial task team should be part of the meeting, inclusive of the Eskom board as per expectation. So let's take the seriousness of the fact that we meet this morning without the key component of the expected delegations. I could see that Salga is here at least in full force, though we haven't given any of them a chance to introduce themselves. I think let's take this as a measure of indicative terms of unacceptable conduct of expression by the task team. I've got no knowledge as to whether Eskom delegation is in order.
We'll come to the
so far.
Eskom
So that,
component
before we
now.
make any judgment call going forward, we need to take that kind of negative substantive representation, and then thereafter we make our call.
All right.
This is a very important time in functionality of Eskom and municipalities, of course, and therefore we take this meeting as a very serious platform to find ways of mitigating the current problems in terms of standing in as far as the fiscal capability of such bodies. So I would ask for your indulgence, Chair,
All right.
that before we can say anything, let's just take that call.
All right, no, that's fine. I will note that. Lungisa, can you please close the door, my brother? That, right, Honorable Mente.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, today, let me just remind everyone that, today later, we are dealing with the special appropriation bill to Eskom. Simply because Eskom's problems are far much bigger than any other person can fix. Therefore, Parliament had to intervene and appropriate a special funding to ensure that Eskom is moving. Then, partly in terms of the problems that caused the lack of financial management and also the lack of funds in Eskom is as a result of municipalities not doing what they are supposed to do. Both Kochta, they can be here, and the DG the DG of Kokta and the Salga, they can be here, but they were there when this problem started. Hence, the establishment of the inter-ministerial task team. So it cannot serve us any purpose to speak to the people who were there, they couldn't fix it, and then there was an intervention of the IMTT. And they are the people that should tell us how far are they with their intervention. Not the same bodies that couldn't deal with the matter.
Yeah.
So for them not to be here, in particular the chair and the Minister of SOEs, the Minister of Finance as well, because they are the people that are going to tell us what kind of intervention is coming. Both Kokta and Salka are going to tell us what they were doing and what they couldn't do. They were defeated in all of this before. There is nothing that they could do to push the municipalities which were failing to pay. And such municipalities, some of them are still undertaking big tasks and they are undertaking on big projects, yet they are not looking into their debt. They simply neglect the fact that Eskom has to be paid, and they take on new projects with whatever funding they receive. They do not, after receiving their funding, they do not allocate it to the debt of Eskom. And Kokta could not monitor that. So the IMTT must tell us that what is the monitoring tool which is in place now to ensure that whenever they are receiving their division of revenue, they start allocating certain funding, which is a compulsory allocation to the debt of Eskom. The two bodies that are here haven't helped us. So I don't think it's going to serve us any purpose to speak to them.
All right. Honorable Tolashe, Honorable Mahau, I'll come to you, and then we'll come to Honorable Dirks, and then we will
Thank you very
take a
much,
decision.
Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, everybody. Chairperson, my problem is that now we're not doing what we expected to do, what we came here to come and do. We're made to discuss an apology, which is a problem, Honorable Chairperson. A full component of a committee convened just to come and discuss an apology. That in the indication towards this meeting, there was a clear communication that said, in fact, the minister is going to be here. And we are at 13th minute, just discussing that we were misled, Chairperson. We were misled by the office of the minister to indicate that minister will be here. Let's note that, because you could have come to a different conclusion if they were who were informed, reliable, so to say, minister in fact will not be here. So let's note the fact that the DG must take note of the fact that the committee was misled.
Sure.
And this is where we are. We were misled, because talking about everything else that we were going to do, but the fact that we were misled, I mean, somebody must take a responsibility. Chair, I don't even want to know how many representatives from each stakeholder here, because for me it's not here nor there. Because they will be here, they've been there, but the ministerial is something that was put up as intervention. Hence, we wanted to hear from the ministerial task team to say how best are you assisting the situation. So I don't want to get into the merits, Honorable Chairperson, of who is here and not there, but the main stakeholder that really had to make us to be here today is not here. And in the correspondence between your office and the minister's office, the committee was misled. And I think that's what we must discuss, because if that was not the case, we could have reached a different arrangement, maybe to rearrange. because all stakeholders are important, I know and I accept that. However, the ministerial task team is the most important stakeholder in this regard for reasons that are being articulated by all members who have just spoken. Because we are risking now to discuss the actual problem before even agreeing to say, why are we here?
Yeah.
Sifike njani last con? So we were misled.
Yeah.
So as parliament, we can't accept that and fold our arms and smile. We must take an action so that in future it doesn't happen, because everybody who traveled to come and be part of this committee paid some taxpayers' money,
Exactly.
which at the end we are responsible for that. So the COGTA must take a full responsibility. Because for wrong or right reasons, they are the chairpersons. And the minister in this case is the chairperson. And if the minister misled us, she will take a responsibility to whoever did that to her. But now, we take it, she misled us. And this is why we are where we are today. Anything else we know for a fact that is important. Because, Chair, if we want to get to discussions, municipalities can't pay Eskom. That's the bottom line. You can change into blue, yellow. Municipalities can't pay Eskom.
Yeah.
They can't pay Eskom, and we know what then becomes the problem as we are all seated here. Our people are on the street. The country is in turmoil because municipalities can't pay Eskom.
All right.
Honorable Mende is articulating the fact that we have a task, huge one as Parliament this afternoon, for the fact that Eskom is also in a huge problem.
Yeah.
So I think, Chairperson, let's resolve on why
All right.
the person who was supposed to lead this delegation is not here, because there are now two different indications insofar as apologies are concerned. Let's stick to that and deal with that, Chairperson. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Honorable Machau and then Honorable Dirks, and then we will tie this one down.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning all. I fully concur with the previous speaker, Chairperson, because if you look at the House now, we're having Eskom and Salga. The IMTT was appointed as a mediator. We can discuss here and come with recommendations. Who is going to bring those recommendations to the PCC? Who's going to monitor the implementation of the decisions that we are going to take here? So the most important arm is not present. So I don't see any need for us to continue, because we'll just be discussing willy-nilly. Thank you very much.
Honorable Dirks.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I have the same kind of view that Honorable Lees have, that we should not continue this discussion. For the simple fact is that if we continue this discussion, departments out there and officials in this government will start undermining this committee even before we started doing our work. We'll get undermined the moment we let them get away with this here. We will get undermined. That is why I feel that is what we should do. But on the other hand, Chair, I'm looking at all these people that are sitting here that have taken flights here, and we have paid for flights and perhaps for accommodation, and as Scopa, we also have a role to look after public monies. Now, us sending them away to, we need to weigh it up, the money that has been spent and what we are trying to achieve here. Do we send them away, or what do we do? Because, you know, the issue of the minister not being present. By yesterday afternoon, the DG could have communicated to us to say that the minister will not be here.
Exactly.
You don't come into the meeting and tell us that the minister is not going to be here. At least communicate with us. And that is what makes the committee so angry, that they have come here and then they find the chair of the task team is not here, which is the minister. You should have communicated, DG, to us. Communicate to us in advance the day before, and then we can deal with these issues. That's the one issue. And then the last issue, even Eskom, as they are sitting here, they send one board member. I have a serious problem with that there. We need a Eskom board here. They could have at least have sent the chairperson or the CEO of that board, but the chairperson is not here of the board, and the CEO of that board is not here. I mean, and that's the person we want here. We want the chairperson to come here We wanted key people in Eskom to come here, but they are not here. Because the problem, Honorable Mente, the problem that we are facing with this Eskom is here. That's why it will never come right. We have a Department of Energy in this country, but this Eskom is sitting under enterprises. It's energy. They deal with energy, but they're not in the energy department. It seems like they've been put somewhere so that they can be looked after by a certain department. They get put under enterprises when they are energy. And that is one of the main problems with this Eskom. They must go to energy. They must go to the Department of Energy. I don't know what are they doing under public enterprises, and why should they actually be under public enterprises? Where that chairperson of theirs, that CEO of theirs, that's why they undermine us. They're not here. They'll never come here. They undermine us. Thank you, Chair.
All right, colleagues, I'll just come to tie this down. Let me put this clear. The briefing today was by the IMTT. The IMTT consists of the Minister of Cocta as chairperson, Minister of Finance, Minister of Energy, Minister of Water and Sanitation, the Minister of Public Enterprises, the President of SALGA, and the chairperson of the Eskom board. Unless there was a reshuffle last night, I don't see any of those individuals here. Salga, right, Salga, thank you very much. So that's the bottom line. And Eskom ordinarily was not going to have been presenting, but they requested, and I agreed to it, that they would, after the IMTT has briefed us, then that they would give a response as the body affected most. Now, I note that there's a board member here. That's fine, but the core of it, she would have been responding on behalf of Eskom, not on behalf of the IMTT, and that's the issue. So, if the IMTT was here, the Eskom would respond to whatever or present their side of the story in terms of how things have gone. But you can't get an Eskom response in a vacuum if the IMTT is not here. The bottom line is we have been undermined. And as far as I'm concerned, I want to just check, are there any other apologies? Maybe let me start there. Right, can we get that hand at the back?
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Nelly Makubane, and I'm the board member of Eskom, and I sit on the Investment and Finance Committee of Eskom, and I have intimate knowledge of the problems that Eskom...
You're going to venture down very dangerous road. Let's not go there.
Okay.
Because the members of the IMTT have listed.
Yes.
So let's not venture down that avenue.
Okay.
There's an appreciation for your skill set. That's not what we're debating. But for the purposes of this meeting,
okay,
in the areas of accountability, that doesn't help us.
Okay. Thank you, Chair, for that. The chairperson of the board is out of the country at the moment, and together with the CFO, they are also not available for this particular meeting. So, because they are both abroad.
So they couldn't send the CEO.
All right.
Okay, the CEO and
No.
the CFO.
Right, colleagues, the apology I have here is from the Deputy Minister of Cocta, who's got urgent matters as well. All right, colleagues, any other apology? Because I'm wanting to make a decision now, right? There's a hand at the back. All right, colleagues, can we be in order, please?
Good morning, members. My name is Lebohan Tikane from Ministry of Public Enterprises. Just to indicate that the minister is part of the delegation that is in Russia with the president for Russia-Africa Summit.
All right. All right. Colleagues, let me be very clear. we are used to this tendency of being undermined. We know it exists, it prevails. But it's not going to be sustainable any longer, because quite frankly, if we have to subpoena people, we will do so, regardless of the office that you occupy. There was load shedding just last week. The project manager at Medupi has resigned. The State Security Agency came here and told us that of the 121 names submitted for vetting at Eskom, only 21 have complied, meaning there's 100 people who are telling us to go and jump off the nearest cliff. Colleagues have pointed out there's a special appropriation this afternoon, and somehow Eskom thinks that it must get a blank check. That can't happen, particularly insofar as the chairperson/CEO is concerned. The IMTT is not here. That totally undermines this committee and this parliament. And if we sit here and dignify this being undermined and allow this meeting to proceed, we set into motion a precedent that says it's okay for us to be undermined. Well, it's not going to happen. That kind of nonsense ends here and goes no further. It is not the first time, DG, that the minister or the department has not taken seriously any of the matters that we have had. We had 3 days of meetings with municipalities. The minister was not here. Sent a deputy minister who was in and out of the meeting. I appreciate that officials stayed for the duration of the time, but the hand of the political leadership is certainly not being felt by this committee. And if that is how we want to start off our relationship and engagement, it's going to be very difficult. And so colleagues, I am not going to allow us to continue with this meeting, because the IMTT is not here. Because if we sit here and just tick the boxes and satisfy ourselves, then we are aiding and abetting this prevailing incompetence. Eskom has got a serious problem of municipalities unable to meet and service their debt, and an intervention was put in place, not by us, but our duty is to hold accountable those that have been given that responsibility and that mandate, and they don't want to account. The intervention has not worked. That's the bottom line. So we take a serious exception to this, DG, and I hope you convey it, and I will do so in correspondence myself. And we will consider very strongly the cost implications of this, meaning that all the persons who are here who flew in from Pretoria, we will request that by close of business tomorrow, you have forwarded to the Secretariat the costs involved in you being here, including flights and accommodation, so that we begin a process of attaching those costs to individuals. Because then when we do that, people know that this parliament that appropriates the funds, enabling them to go all over the world, including but not limited to junkets, is not going to accept a situation where people do not subject themselves to accountability. It will not happen. It ends today, and I hope that this message goes out to any other department. I will not accept it. I take extreme exception to it, because the minister's office indicated that she would be here. She's not here. Because had that indication been given, we're not a bunch of rigid people here. We are quite flexible and understanding. If the forewarning, would have been quite amicable to negotiations about another time. Last week, the NPA and the SIU indicated that the day that we had wanted them here, they were unable to be here, and we were quite flexible as a committee. Yes, we've got a lot of work, but we're not hard-headed. But we become hard-headed when we treat it with this kind of disdain. To say I'm annoyed would be an understatement, and to say I'm angry would be an understatement, because we're not treating each other in good faith. So on that note, colleagues, the meeting will, unless there's any other urgent pressing matter by side of committee members, Honourable Liz, and then we'll close the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to support you and ensure that everyone who's here understands that they must provide the costs of today to us for our consideration. That's a determination of this committee, not just a comment by the chair.
Right. So if that information can be made available by 4 o'clock, Mrs. Nkabinde is there and Mr. Kali has arrived, our committee secretariat. That information will be there and it will be forwarded to them. So we make a determination. All right, colleagues, I'm going to be a benevolent dictator and give you 1 minute, right? Honorable Somi and Honorable Mente.
Thanks, Chair. Just to be on record, how many official apologies have you received?
I've received, well, the DG has apologized for the minister. The deputy minister of COGTA has sent an apology. And the chairman of the board, we will consider at our time whether we accept that as an apology, but we've read it into the record, and the Minister of Public Enterprises. So we will consider it at our own time whether we can, but that's the only indication that we had to my side. But I still maintain, Honorable Somyo, that in the normal last-minute checks, just to make sure that we are in order with this support staff, the indication even last night was that the minister had requested to leave early. And I was amicable to that because, as I'm saying, we're not going to be, rigid. I was fine. We would have seen the weight of the matters before us and would have negotiated. But at the very least, the indication was that she would be present, and so she's not. So even this apology, I take it with a pinch of salt because the confirmation officially was that she would have been here. All right, Honorable Mente? Okay.
In terms of our record.
Okay. No, I'm reading those into the record, and when we meet, we will make a determination.
Would know that we came here ourselves, knowing that there is a meeting.
Yeah.
So it counts too. I was supposed to be in a meeting with the deputy speaker.
Yes, you
so
and I was
preferred,
and
I preferred this meeting.
Yes, and we declined.
And then there is no meeting. You see, it's a problem. So there was only one official sort of indication that there's going to be no other official apology.
Yeah. All right, Honorable Mente, and then we'll close.
Thank you, Chair. One, the apology by the DG is not acceptable. It's always communicated before time. It's not relayed in a meeting. Number two, can we also, during the day, when you receive all the letters or indication of how much did it cost for the delegation to be here, can we also forward that to the leader of governance business, which is the Deputy President's office, so that I also have evidence to put forward into the programming meeting on Thursday when we are dealing with the absenteeism of ministers to Parliament.
All right. So that will be by close of business tomorrow. So let's say 4 o'clock. To Salga, thank you very much for being here in honoring our invitation. The particular set of circumstances which have prevailed, of course, do not allow us to continue, right? Colleagues, in the absence of any other hand, are you all fine? Is there any other? DG, I saw your hand. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yes, Chairperson, mine is just a comment basically to say that, confirming, of course, what you have said in the letter that was read out to say the minister was going to be here and then leave it. I think I must really put it unequivocally that there was no intention on the part of the minister to mislead the House.
No,
I think
she will answer for herself.
Yes,
don't
she
do
would,
that.
but I want
Don't.
Okay.
Don't do that, because that will trigger a response which is not going to be conducive for progress. So I'll suppress that view. Let's not do that. Colleagues, tomorrow we are being briefed by the Auditor General. There was a request by appropriations to join us given the tight scheduling of the AG. So I've agreed to that. And so we are not meeting at 9:30. We will meet at 9 just to try and give ourselves more time, because we all know what joint meetings are like. More members means more time for interaction. So I know the notification said 9 or 9:30, But tomorrow we will meet at 9 o'clock. So that's the briefing by the Auditor General on the audit outcomes. And by the way, DG, speaking about audit outcomes, we also note that we will hold you to account on the submission of your department's annual report, which we have not received. So we will. I note that you said 30th of October or November. November. If we do not receive it by then, on the basis of the correspondence you've submitted to Parliament, you will be expected to come and explain the reasons for that non-compliance. Right, colleagues, on that note, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
Court delivered the judgment in the Komape case. One of the orders of the court was that the Limpopo Department of Education develop and report on a plan for the replacement of all pit toilets in the province with safe and hygienic toilets. Now, there are many problems with the report presented. I just want to highlight one. The most problematic part of this plan, in the context of the deaths and injuries I have just mentioned, is that according to the plan, the Limpopo Department will only complete replacing these pit toilets in the province by the year 2031. So in the context of all the injuries and deaths I've mentioned, it means that learners in these circumstances, where there are over 6,800 illegal pit toilets, it means that learners will remain at risk till 2031.